Good morning. Welcome to Bass University Live, everybody. Really excited to have Caleb Sumrall with us today. He's back in the Classic this year after having an amazing 2024 season. We're gonna dive into that, and we're gonna talk about the impact of forward-facing sonar. We saw that win both of the first two derbies of the season already in the early pre-spawn, and Clarks Hill and Georgia, South Carolina, depending on what side you're on there, and down at Sam Rayburn. So we're going to dive into that. What kind of, how's that playing into his game? Because I know Caleb, Riz, man, he's a shallow water rat, loves flipping and pitching and chatterbaiting. I'm looking forward to seeing how forward-facing has affected his game.
Yeah, for sure. It's no secret that, Caleb Sumrall with the punching rods and 55-pound braid and the frog, he's sitting right at home. That's his wheelhouse. We've seen it firsthand, Pete. We've been live in action, seeing the power of those techniques, and going into 2025, Caleb's coming off of a very strong end to 2024. The St. Lawrence River making a long run, didn't lay up and just try to take the points and, stay somewhere close to the river. The dude went out there and was fishing to try and win at the end of the season, coming off of a, extremely, extremely strong tournament at the end. And it's going to be exciting to see how he performs next year.
Yeah. Well, wasn't Caleb, didn't he get the second place finish up there on the chatterbait? Was that him?
That was Brock Mosley, Pete.
Brock Mosley.
The chatterbait, is a dominant technique, everywhere across the country, and it still can play up on the St. Lawrence River, and we've seen it in recent years. It would be really interesting to see if it would make a comeback with, all of the forward-facing sonar pressure and, the offshore smallmouth, to start seeing some of those power techniques come back into the game. And this is a guy that could hold up a blue trophy at the end of 4 days if if that scenario lines up for him.
Yep. Well, I'm psyched to have him. He's a longtime Bass University teacher, and looking forward to talking to him. Justin, we've got a really cool promotion. We're excited about our new partnership for this particular promotion. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we got a pretty cool deal going on at Bass U right now. If you sign up for Bass U for an annual subscription, you get 4. This is only 2, but you get 4 Bassman spinnerbaits with your annual deal. We also always have a free trial going on. Personally, one of my favorite spinnerbaits on the market.
Shout out to Jared Fantini, who brought the Bassman spinnerbait into our embrace.
Really. Yeah, seriously. You watch a guy catch as many fish on a spinnerbait as Jared, you're due to try that one out. It's all the dude throws. We saw it firsthand on the Delaware, Pete, when we filmed that subscriber video with him.
That's right. You guys can go check that out on YouTube with Jared using that Bassman spinnerbait. But how cool! It's really like we're talking about forward-facing sonar, and here's one of our boys. It's all pinging a minnow, but there's a lot of different ways to catch them with that technique, and Jared loves to do it with that spinnerbait.
Bass Tech Sonar. He's really dialed in with the electronics. So let's just say you can ping more than a minnow. You can ping a 3/4 ounce hanger.
He's gonna be upset we're giving that up, but man, that's what he does. It's crazy to watch him do it.
Sorry, Jared. If you're with us at Bass University, the secrets get exposed, my friend. Yep. But his ability to work on sonar. Look for him and his company to splash on the scene this year, as he does amazing work. He's done all my work installing all my sonar and helping me deal with the power issues I was having, help me fix that, help me get rid of interference. And he's really done an amazing job. So he's going to be doing some great work. I know he's installing, anybody that has their stuff installed by him. All your friends are next in line. They're all going to him to get their stuff worked on. So, but a little shout out to Jared and the Bassman spinnerbait. I know Carl Jacobson uses those baits and talks about them a lot, has talked about them at Bass University. So we're excited to be partnering with them for this promotion. So get Get subscribed to Bass University if you haven't done it yet.
Speaking of Carl Jochimson and the Bassman spinnerbaits, it's not exactly a spinnerbait video, but we have in early days down imaging and Mega 360 seminar with Carl Jochimson putting essentially that to work. It was still forward facing technology back then, using Humminbird 360 and Carl. If you're still a guy that likes to run your 360 and you see the value in it, that's one to tune back into and check that out of the archives. Carl Jochimson did a great breakdown on Humminbird 360 and how to put big bass in the boat using it. So
absolutely, it's a tremendous tool, as Brian Thrift pointed out this year at Bass University seminars, how he effectively continues to use the 360. So that's what's going on at Bass University. And by the way, Caleb, we're dealing with cold fronts in our events. And I want you guys to look for Caleb's pre-spawn seminar that is going to be dropping on February 6th, coming up real soon. So we're all dealing with it. Cold fronts in the pre-spawn, man, it can make things so challenging. It can make that bite so tough. So look for that to be dropped on Bass University very soon. And a lot of the guys had to deal with that exact thing. Can you believe? I mean, every time I got on social, somebody was showing a video of snow on their boats in these last two tournaments. It was a crazy snowstorm, a couple of derbies,
Yeah, I mean, Caleb was right in the throw of it. I know he'd never seen snow in South Louisiana before. Bring him on.
I saw that. Like people on the Gulf of Mexico, man, they were seeing snowstorms for the first time ever. Speaking of the devil, there he is. Was that the first time you saw snow at your house, Caleb?
No, we've seen snow before, but dude, I think I got 10 inches at my house.
Holy smokes.
10 inches in South Louisiana.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man, it was insane. I mean, it snowed from 7 o'clock that morning till 3 o'clock that afternoon nonstop. And I'm talking 30-mile-an-hour winds. Like they called it a blizzard. I don't know what exactly a blizzard is, but it was a blizzard to us.
Heck yeah. I mean, did you get out in it? Did you guys
Oh yeah.
four-wheel?
Oh yeah. The kids were in it. The kids were in it for 3 days straight. It's a mess. I mean, there was snow and mud and shit. It's not as clean as it looks.
No, it's not. When it starts melting, or especially down that part of the country where the earth is warm, it makes a muddy mess, no doubt.
Nasty. Yep.
Yeah, it does it up here. We get real cold up here sometimes, and that white will be around for weeks and weeks at a time. But when it starts melting, it's a disaster.
Everything's still wet. Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy. Did you by any chance do any fishing in the snow?
No, man. I've been doing a lot of saltwater fishing, and it's time to start switching gears to freshwater. So I haven't. When that cold front hits, I've just been trying to get everything together for the upcoming season. Really.
What? Tell me about your saltwater adventures. What do you
Man,
do?
I'm doing some inshore fishing here at the house. It's the perfect little supplemental deal for a guy like me. I'm doing some inshore speckled trout and red fishing. Man, I'm having a blast with it too. It's fun. I got a X23 Bay Boat Express, and I don't know how many. I didn't do the math on how many trips I ran, but from August to February we're essentially off. So I ran fall trips all fall, and got to get trips in almost up until I think the first week of January.
Awesome.
And it was fun, man. It was really fun. It was yeah. I mean, trying to get some people from out of state to come and experience what we have to offer down here, and yeah, dude, it keeps me fishing. It's not burning me out on bass fishing. Like I wanted to do the bass guiding thing, and I enjoyed doing the bass guiding thing, but it was a lot of bass fishing. You know what I'm saying? So with this, I feel like, and I was actually doing it before I went to the Northern Swing that we're going to talk about, and I really think that it helped keep me in fishing shape and in tune with the conditions. I mean, you're still making adjustments. You're still trying to hunt down fish. I think speckled trout actually behave a lot like a school of bass with Oh, absolutely, like a lot. And I really think that's what helps me stay on them and helps me make adjustments coming into bass fishing too. I mean, just taking little nuggets from that and applying it to bass is seemed to help me out a lot. So I like it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know I do a lot of striper fishing sometimes, and I find that getting bites is getting bites.
That's it.
You're triggering strikes. You're learning. You're staying in that zone, and I think there's a lot that can help you by just fishing for any species.
Yep. I've also said that hunting plays into bass fishing as well, because if you're just outdoors and you're in tune with what's going on outside with weather, wind, just conditions, how animals are moving. I've always had a feel that plays into how you approach bass fishing, and just being an outdoorsy guy helps. That's what I've always thought.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think you're absolutely right, and a lot of people feel that way. But I also like the fact that you talked about adjusting, like even whatever you're in bass fishing, you're always having to adjust to conditions. So you're doing that on these trips, like it's
Oh,
like
every day,
directions, the muddy water comes in.
every day,
You
yeah,
got
yep. You get some great days where you're done in like an hour, but you can bet your butt in the next 2 to 3 days something's going to change and you're going to have to make an adjustment.
heck yeah, and it's hard to practice making adjustments without actually doing it.
That's right.
So that's a great thing. Guys we got guys all over listening to the show. If they want to come down and fish with you, how do they get in touch?
Man, probably the easiest way is, look me up on social and shoot me a message. Facebook, Instagram. I do a lot of advertising on Facebook. That's where I pull a lot of my trips. Caleb Sumrall Fishing. I'll post my cell phone number on there all the time and get on the schedule. I got a couple places that I know people rent out some places, and we hook it up.
Awesome. That's what body of water specifically are you working in?
I mean, it's called Vermilion Bay, but I mean, I'm in the summertime. I run into the Gulf of Mexico. We do a lot of offshore fishing. I say offshore is 10 miles out of the pass, and it gets really fun in the summertime. A lot of 3-inch swim baits and 8 to 10 foot of water and double rigging them, and just it's fun. Yeah.
10 miles out is only 10 feet deep.
Yes. Yes. We live on a predominantly flat shelf. Yeah. So when you go to Venice, and you go out of South Pass, 2 miles out is 150 foot. But where I live, it's more flat. There's not enough contours. You have to go a little bit further out, and it takes a little bit while to get to the deeper water. So that's how far the trout have to swim to get to decent temperature during the summertime.
I got you. Well, man, that sounds like a lot of fun. And,
It is.
Yeah, that's a great way to keep, like you said, keep yourself in fishing shape in the off season. But Rich, you and I were talking about it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb had a hell of a year this past year.
Yeah. I mean, to finish off the year strong and make it back into that classic with an awesome smallmouth performance from a guy from Louisiana. I mean, it's impressive. It showed the progression, it showed the growth, everything that you guys just talked about, essentially, with becoming, continuing to become a well-rounded angler. I mean, Caleb, talk to me, bro. Talk to me.
Yeah, man. Last year. So I'm gonna tap into the 2 seasons prior before I get into this season, and that was my adjustment period for scope. I'm gonna call it what it is. I was hard headed, and I had 2 less than subpar years. Missed the classic, and I think last year was, I forget exactly the number, but it was pretty bad. And this year, every year on the Elite Series, I've judged my season, or I could get some leverage on the season if I could ever just figure out Florida early. And this last year we started in Texas. We did Toledo Bend, and Fort, which I was stoked about because I was like, get me out of Florida, get me where I can go there a little bit later. And we did. And I had,
Man.
I think that really helped. But every year, I felt like I was chasing my rear after an early start to the season, trying to
Yeah.
make up for a bad finish in Florida.
It's hard to
So
pick up ground, man, when it feels like things are starting to go the other way. Here's
right.
what's on my brain for you though, dude. You start at the St. Johns River, right?
This year, yeah.
You unlock some stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
It's we're back on that playing field this year.
yeah.
So, I mean,
you can catch a mega bag there. There's no
at least one day. Way different. It's way different time of year too. So
yeah.
Coming into this year, I knew I had some pressure to do better. I always do, obviously, but I knew I had to make an adjustment in how I fish and how I approach the year.
Mm-hmm.
My electronics, spent a lot of time, trying to figure that out. Even when downscan and side scan became a thing, I was a predominantly shallow water fisherman. Me and a buddy, before I was even fishing professionally, just went up to Toledo Bend and just spent days. We would even graph out into the night, just graphing, just because we didn't want it taking our money. And it took me getting back into that mindset with forward facing sonar to not be stubborn. I told myself this coming into the elites, that I did not want to be known as a one-sided angler or a one-dimensional angler. I want to be known. I want to win I want to win a smallmouth tournament. I want to be known as a well-rounded angler. I don't have to be a master of any of them, but as long as I can become a household name and play with all of them, I will have had a successful career. That's the way I envision myself as an angler. The ability to learn anything new and be dangerous with it to a certain extent is success to me. So coming into this year, I mean, Toledo Bend, I'll start with that change to tell you how much I've changed my mindset. Toledo Bend, historically, I think I forget the month, but it might have been the end of February, might even been beginning of March. I forget the day. I think it might have been February some, but um, full moon. The biggest factor there was, I think we had somewhat of a little bit of a warming trend on top of a full moon, and then the lake came up to full pool, which brings a ton of cover into play, which I love because I used to absolutely catch big ones on that lake, deep and shallow, when the lake came up to full pool. And I erased all the knowledge that I thought I had, and I just went scoping.
Wow.
I did. I mean, don't get me wrong. I looked at some good spots. There was one spot I really, honed in on the first morning of practice, and it ended up being where like four guys top 10. I just felt like I would just needed to get away from there, whatever. But I blasted off the first day of that morning with 6 spinning rods on my front deck. Didn't have a bait caster one, and finished 30th in the event. I never felt like I was on the fish to win, but that mindset, I guess I'm not trying to dig into just Toledo, but that mindset is what I took into the whole year.
Yeah.
For
sure. I mean,
really trying to figure out when I needed to press the forward facing sonar button extremely hard. That's
right. Do you feel like now, because what you just broke down, you did it at Toledo and Fort, right? You erased a lot of, but you also, I'm assuming you committed to it equally as strong at Champlain and St. Lawrence, right?
all I did. Yeah, it's all I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I caught, but so, making a check, making that deposit, and getting to play the next event was always that's always a goal. You don't want to lose money in this deal.
Yeah.
So, like at Champlain, I got to save check range, and I felt like my scoping fish were kind of petering out. And I went flip a jig and caught like a 6-pounder. So that really helped me out a lot. And it felt good to know that I had that, in my wheelhouse to go do. That's the kind of little adjustment. Like, I'm like, okay, I got 19 pounds right now on Champlain, which is a good bag, but you know that you need a 5+ to really bump your weight up. And if you're fishing for smallmouth on Champlain, you can catch 33 1/4 really fast. But your best chance is to go catch a big largemouth. And that's what I did. So pulled that plug at noon and went and do that and caught a 6-pounder. So
awesome. And did on Toledo, did you get drawn to the bank? Like, were you able to the entire day, just with the water up like it was, just stay focused? I mean, come on, you didn't pick up a jig.
There was, I forget what day it was. Day two. I did have a chatterbait bite that going on, and I think I played it the first day a little bit towards the afternoon. I think I had 21 pounds the first day. That's exactly what I had. I remember 21 pounds even the first day. I went checked some chatterbait fish in the back of a creek. The water was real cold and muddy. I think I caught a couple small ones. Day two, my scope fish got really tough to catch. And I think at like noon or 11 o'clock, I didn't have any. I forget what it was. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go catch me 8 to 10 pounds in that chatterbait back of that creek. So I ran all the way to the back of the creek. I passed up one hyacinth mat. I dug in my box, put out a punch rod, flipped in that mat, and caught a 4-pounder. And that was all I caught back there. I left and came out, and I caught 3 more good ones. I think I had 3 or 4 for like almost 15 pounds and made the cut. But yes, I did weigh in one fish junk fishing.
Yep. That's it. That's interesting to have.
That's an important fish, though.
It was very important. I mean, it made the cut. I finished 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not saying I wouldn't have caught 5 if I'd have stayed, but dude,
Yeah.
4 hours without putting a keeper in the boat will make your wheels start turning.
Yeah. I mean, that speaks a little bit as well to where, you know, now that you have so much time under your belt and like your decision-making process has even become more refined through all the saltwater fishing, you know enough that, you know, if you see the right thing, you can make that decision that it's only going to take me 10 minutes to stop and flip this mat. And if you come away from that with a key fish for the event, having that, you know, comfortability, you know, as far as your whole, you know, your whole toolbox as an angler that's
right.
Moving forward.
That's right.
Kyle, by the way, Kyle Patrick's saying there's no way you had just spinning rods on your deck. There's no way.
Oh, yeah. There's a picture of it on YouTube somewhere. Might have been 7 spinning rods. It was. You thought I was going to fish a smallmouth tournament.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it's the 6-pounder on Champlain, man. That's a unicorn. Holy crap!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was
you didn't break it off either. That's the most.
That was, and I caught him in the same spot. I'm not gonna give the juice about where that was, but historically, where I caught this fish, I've had a tough time on getting them out, and this one, I actually got this one out. So
yeah,
well, feel like I could have won a couple tournaments where I hooked this fish, and
you know the
it just worked out. He just swam out.
But the zebra mussels get you up there.
Oh yeah. I was trying I tried 30-pound mono to 65-pound braid. I tried every line that was known to man. You cannot do it.
Yeah. That's rough gig. Well, so you developed your forward-facing sonar game, and you've gotten very. I mean, I always say forward-facing. It's easy to do. Like anybody can do it, right?
Yeah.
Really hard. It's hard to get good at it.
It's hard. Yes, and I'm still learning. I'm you know, there's so many factors that come into play with it. You know, what you're seeing. You know, a lot of people can go out there and throw it, the ones that float, that are dumb, that run up to your bait and just eat it. You could throw, you know, a Cheeto out there and it'll probably jump up and eat it. Like it's the ones that you literally have to be cognizant about boat position, getting too close to them, making the right cast, figuring out which way they're swimming. Is that a bass? Is that not a bass? Is that a bass on the bottom? Is that a bass on a stump? There's so many more. It's like a whole nother way of fishing. I mean, I never really agreed with people saying that it was easy. I never agreed with that factor one bit. It is a whole nother playing field. I'm a technical guy. I get really dialed into what my mind's set on. I'm a real goal-oriented guy, and when I pick up something like that, I look for the puzzle inside the puzzle, and that's what you got to do to get better at something. Um, and that's the factors that play into forward-facing sonar. Uh, like I said, there's all this time of year. There's a bunch of fish just floating around that'll just eat, and you can win a tournament doing that. I'm not saying you can't, but the guys that that are hammers with it, 50% of the, if not more, of the fish they're catching is the ones you might not even think is the bass or don't even see.
Wow. Like what? Like when you don't even see?
Well, I mean, like they're tough to see. I guess is the way I should have said that. Like they're tight to structure, tight to the bottom, and they're drawing them out, or like difficult to see fish is my point. That's what I should have said.
Yeah, that's interesting because we were just talking with Brett Cannon, who works out on OH Ivy, and they talk about fishing the flats, these deep flats near the main river channel, and that the bass get in the mud. They
lay on the bottom, right?
Yeah, and they're really hard to see.
Yep.
How are you able? What have you learned about that? Like, do you just like get your bait down there and try to draw them out so you can see them, or do you use your settings to see something different? What are you doing?
St. Lawrence and Champlain was probably is where you pick up on a lot of experience doing that. And I'm not saying you can around here too, right? But it's where I picked up a lot of experience because that's the most time that I've spent doing it. But you got, it's all about the return, how bright the bottom shows up. You rock, it's got nothing but rock up there, right? So you're looking, pretty much everything's the same shade. You can mess with your gain a little bit, get it brighter, get it less, mess with your palette some. But it's just that initial, oh, was that a bass? And then you try to turn back and you might not see anything, but you throw something over there, try to keep it up above it, try to pull it off, try to get its attention, see if you can get some type of movement. And sometimes you can kind of get its attention and you'll pull something off a rock and you're like, oh, there is a bass down there. But St. Lawrence, especially when there's current involved, it's very interesting to see, even with forward-facing sonar, how tough it is to see some of those fish. I mean, like you said, they will belly down on structure. They'll belly down on mud and on rock, and sometimes that's why I talked about boat position. Everybody wants to be, you got to be downwind a lot just to kind of keep your boat off of them. If you're going with the wind, you can see them in front of your boat, but how are you going to stop unless you have reverse anchors? So that's tough. So you got to, all kind of things to consider, man. It's interesting,
man. It sure is. Well, I got two questions that popped up because we're talking about this, but the searching, like we've seen some techniques where guys are using different, I mean, now you guys can only like they were idling and they had the transducers off the back of the boat. Now you can't do that, but guys are idling and doing different things. How are you searching and covering water at practice?
Man, I can tell you this. My Express drifts pretty fast, and I like that. And I've learned to fish, and it's a shallow water boat. It drifts pretty fast. I like to get downwind and just look. If I see something that I want to throw at, I'll get downwind. If it's something wide open, I'll kick my trolling motor on 10. I got a power pull move. I'm pulling that boat like 4.5 miles an hour, and I'll just kind of just do big swings and look at 130 until I see something I kind of want to throw at. And God, that's practice. I do a lot of side scan, down scan. I'll do a lot of idling if I see some structure, looking for fish as well too. But I'll get in the area where I think there's fish and just do some scoping. I mean, just literally just look around. I'm not necessarily throwing and catching every fish I see. If it's some type of structure that's holding some bass, I'll leave it alone. And I've gotten decent enough to know that that's some big ones. I need to leave them alone. Not even throw at them. Not even educate them. Not even throw a bait at them. And you try to do that. Just mark it real good. You try to mark, where I want my boat at a certain distance, 80 to 90 feet, and then come back in the tournament and try to catch those bass if they're there. That's super important. Just it's like bed fishing. I mean, why catch a 5-pounder off a bed if you can come back the next day and catch it out of a brush pile? It's going to be there. Just gotta mark it and roll on.
I got you. That's great advice. So what about the baits? Like there's all kinds of crazy jig heads and modifications guys are using to get that bait to float. What are the baits you're using? What are the jig heads? What's your setup?
Man, I'm a pretty straightforward, simple guy, dude. I've kind of ran my forward facing experience here lately, and that's something I probably need to get better at. Is the bait selection. I kind of I fish a little faster, and if they don't eat, I roll on to the next one. But I don't sit there and coax them and chase them.
It's a system.
It's a system, right? And it gets a little tougher when it's a big one. But I mean, as you've seen with Taku, like on St. Clair, like I think I forget, it was like he chased a 5-pounder for like an hour until he finally tricked it into biting. And Lord knows Taku's got enough tricks up his sleeve with bait from what he does. He's got way more than I do. And I typically I'll mess with my minnow size of various size. I like the spunk shad from mess with baits a lot. It's different. It's got it's got rib bodies, a little fat, beefy body, and it does roll really good if you tie a loop knot with it. It does good. So I like the spunk shad a lot. I mess with my sizes from a 3.5 when bait's smaller, and I go up to a 4.5 when I need something bigger. But the minnow is pretty much the predominant thing. You can throw a drop shot a lot. I even caught some on a wacky worm, a Nico rig. And, that's basically the playing field. If you're not throwing a minnow this time of year, you're probably getting beat by it.
Yeah. No kidding. What about the head size? Like that seemed to matter to a lot of guys in these last couple of tournaments.
Yeah, that's why I had, 6 rods out of Toledo. I had a couple quarters, a couple 3/16, and a couple 3/8, depending on, how deep these fish were set up. And, there's sometimes that if the conditions are calm, these fish want something super light. They don't want something, super heavy. You can't just go out there with a 1/2 ounce and just sling it at them and just think they'll chase them up. Sometimes you got to dance it in front of their face for a minute, it seems like, and you need a super light head to do that.
Right.
Sometimes they're sitting, it blows your mind. Sometimes they're sitting 6 inches under the surface, over 30 foot of water, and you got to throw something super light at them. Sometimes they're sitting in 40 foot on the bottom, and you got to throw a 3/4 ounce at them just to get something down there. So varying your head size to the depth of the fish that you're fishing for is key for sure.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be. Have you developed that with respect to line? Like, are you using floating lines?
No, I throw 16-pound braid. I've been throwing a lot of 20-pound braid. I've been beefing up my braid a lot, and just kind of alter my head off of that. If I can cast good, I would throw 20-pound braid to anywhere. I predominantly throw 12-pound leader. If I'm around a lot of cover or fishing pretty much shallower, I'll even beef it up to 16. Presentation is key, and I don't think they're getting too good of a look at the line, so I'm not too concerned about the line size.
Okay. Well, what about presentation? I've seen, and we've seen guys win with different ways where you're playing that cat and mouse thing where you're trying to pull it away from the fish. Other times it seems like, man, you got to just kill it and hover it.
Yes. There's some fish where keeping it above their heads probably the number one key factor I can tell anybody. There's been a lot of cases. I'm not saying if you let it get below the fish they won't eat it. But there's been a lot of cases of fish that I've seen on scope that when you throw at them, if you let the bait get below them, they get weird. They'll follow it, but they won't really eat it. And here's the number one factor I could tell anybody that it's probably no secret, but wherever that fish is sitting, the farther that fish swims to come get your bait, the more committed he'll be to eat it. So my first couple casts, I'm not going to drop it till you see the bait go to the fish. You don't want to do that. I'll make a cast and keep the bait that far away from the fish on the screen. You want to keep it far away, try to get its attention, and then make the fish swim. If you can make the fish swim 20 foot, the chances of him eating it are through the roof. And there's some times where they'll run 40 foot and just follow it. You know, Smith Lake this year was probably the biggest lesson in that. You know, those fish were super smart, super pressured. The year that we went, it was a bunch of spotted bass. They were roaming. There were some on points. The herring deal was kind of petering out. A lot of these fish have been caught already, and there was wolf packs. And there was a lot of times that if you gave them too good of a look at it, they would just run up to it and just never eat it. So it was really key for me. I didn't finish too good. I had some missed opportunities. I think I finished in the 50s. But it was super key for me to make multiple casts and keep it away from them farther to get them to come up and swim farther to eat it.
That's interesting.
Yes.
You got to get them moving. That's
get them moving.
I've not really heard that. You might think that's common, but
no, the further a fish from 6 pounds to 1 pound, I learned that a lot too with crappie, with sockeye. When you fish in a brush pile with 4 pieces sonar, you keep that little jig above them, and the further you pull them, whenever you start running out of line or something, like the further that fish swims, the more committed they are to eating it.
Yeah, sockeye. I love those Louisiana terms. What's a mudfish called?
Shoe pick.
A shoe pick.
I knew where you were going with that.
Yeah. There's another one.
Gaspagoo.
What is that? Yeah, that's a drum, right?
That's a drum. That's a drum. Gaspagoo.
I love those terms. I'm surprised. We were down there with the Bass University recently, and my guys were a little disappointed because the crawfish were not quite in season yet.
Yeah, there are, and I'm trying to figure out what this freeze did to them. It was 3 degrees the morning after it snowed here. I think it was a record temperature. So I haven't heard any reports yet, but it could have put a dampening on the pond crawfish.
Well, we'll be down there for the Classic. We'll have
there'll be some around for sure.
Okay. Well, species identification. Can you give us anything on that? Like we talk with everybody about it, and there's different clues to identify a species. What have you learned?
Yeah, man, I've gotten pretty decent at that. I'm not saying I've gotten the best. Probably the one that keeps fooling me the most is about a 3-pound catfish. I can pretty much tell what a drum is. You can tell a drum a lot, and a giant largemouth will look like a drum. Like, you can see his back, you see the tail, but I've gotten decent enough with the drum where you kind of tell. You can see the shape of his back at certain angles. You see the shape of his back, you see the tail moving, but there's some like discoloration on the belly. It's almost like the belly does, like it's sunken in, like it's a skinny fish. Like the belly doesn't give off a good return. So that is not a largemouth bass. I'll turn my boat and move on. A gar will kind of throw off almost like a star. Like it's super bright around its back and belly area. It's the best way I can explain it. It almost looks like a star, like a real star shining. And the only thing and obviously when it turns long ways for the screen, you can tell it's a gar and you roll on. But I think it returns brighter because their shell's so hard and you get a brighter return off of them. The one that fools me the most is about a 3-pound channel cat or blue cat. They act a lot like a bass. They get curious when you dangle a minnow in front of them. There was one day at Toledo this year, and they'll sit in the same areas, the same drains. They just float out there. And I think one day I caught like 10 catfish. and they do a lot of things that bass do, and that's the ones that keep fooling me a little bit.
Gotcha.
But
Well, you practice all the time, Rich. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, I've had some fun pinging a jackhammer for
blue cats.
Caleb just said 3-pound blue cats, and just, you know, set the hook on every single one of them as hard as you can and put them in the freezer.
That's right.
That's awesome.
That's my approach to forward facing sonar. Caleb, looking into this year, man, circle one for me. Like circle a derb on the schedule this year that you are, you know, excited about. Like you think it's going to set up the way that you like to fish. Because I think there's going to be a couple.
I think I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna go. You know, it's pretty hard for me not to say the Sabine River. I know enough there and how that place fishes to catch them. It's gonna be a tough tournament, and it's like I told you boys before on some of our seminars. Whenever there's 5 to 10 bites to have a day, I'm gonna be dangerous, and I stand by that. And I think it's gonna take a lot of forward facing sonar technique out of it. It's gonna be an absolute mental grinder with heat, no bites, no confidence. Where do I fish? That's what's going to be on everybody's mind. So that's where I think I'll shine. I've had good tournaments there. I've top 10 this year. I think did we go there this year?
Last year.
I finished 12th there.
Yeah.
Had a horrible day one, but rallied on day two. So that's one that I really want to win, man. I got a ton of family that comes over for that one. I think one year I had like 40 people show up. We can't fish Louisiana waters, which is disheartening.
What's the deal with that? What is the actual reasoning?
So there's a lot of duck leases and
I got it.
Put it this way. I know enough that, you know, me and Doug Miller with Gross Savon, we talked about it. It could be labeled out. It could be listed out that this is off limits, just as simple as a marina.
Yeah.
Like whatever the signs say, this is posted off limits. Like you'll have a big pond and there'll be a straightaway canal with little gaps that you can float your boat through, but there'll be a sign saying posted off limits. Your boat can't go past it. Well, historically in tournaments, those signs would come up missing. And when they do the polygraph them, they're like, well, I never idled past the sign. So that's the gray area that it provides. But it can be. Why
doesn't Texas have that? All that.
It's the state law. It's every other state in the country is floated. You can boat it. Louisiana is the only one that has private water private water.
Parishes and
I mean, there's a lot of tournaments around here that you can't fish some of the best water because it's you know, it's closed to the public because there are sections of it are closed to the public, and there's too much gray area for people going in there and cheating.
Yeah.
So, there's that going on, and it would be a totally different fishery if they would allow Louisiana.
Yeah.
I would like to see it one year, but we'll see.
Has it ever?
There was 1 year, and I want to say somebody got DQ'd for running through private waters. I forget the name. I'm not gonna misquote anybody or throw a name out there that I don't know for sure. But I want to say I think it was the year Faircloth won. When those boys were running Taylor's Bayou and catching them, and you know, and that fishery is nothing the same now. When those boys are catching them, it is totally different.
Right.
But that's one I want to win. That's one that I'm excited about.
Has that fishery been what you would consider like stable since you guys were there in 23? And I know like hurricane impact can do a lot to, you know, that kind of water. What, you know, has it had anything crazy happen?
Man, that's one thing that Sabine is, and anything I fish down here is stable. You get an influx of rainwater, flushes a bunch of trash into it, in system, mixes it, also keeps it fertile. And it's got fish. You're going to get bites.
Oh yeah.
Just
hard
you
to
know,
get-
and you'll have some big ones come down through the Sabine from Toledo. I think it's just you know, it's just not a stable system. You know, it's tidal. You got
Right.
saltwater intrusion that affects it as well. Depending on how much water's getting let out from Toledo and all the other systems,
Yeah.
saltwater will completely kill a system. I mean, you get one surge of saltwater coming into Taylor's Bayou. I think you got Hildebrandt and another bayou there, but it's not like a flowing gigantic bayou. So you're not going to have a big school of fish really just push up there or get fed back to it to restock it every year. So that's tough, you know. Obviously, where I live, that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, if I could pick one tournament where I'm like, Caleb, you better go smash, it's like that's Sabine, you know. But what about like you know, the other side of the coin? Like, is there something that you're excited about? Maybe a body of water you haven't been to in a while.
The Chowan River or wherever we're going. What I forget the name of it.
Yeah, Albemarle Sound.
That one. See, I don't even know the name of it, but I'm excited to get to that one. You know, we have a tournament that we got to watch last year. I think it was in the same system or close to the same system. It was one with forward-facing sonar, so I'm not too excited about that, knowing that it can play. But there's one thing that I think that I don't understand there that a lot of guys won't, and that's tide.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, guys come from the Delaware. Y'all know how to run tide. I take that as one of my extreme strengths, and I think it makes a lot of guys spin out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, I'm hoping that bullet in the 6-shooter comes through clutch.
Yeah, for sure.
Stephen Walden, one of our boys, he was wanting. Do you think the forward facing is going to play in the Sabine?
I don't doubt that one person will absolutely do good with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that somebody's going to find a nugget that they're going to be able to catch. And, you know, they might not catch all their fish on it, but they might catch some. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still, I don't think there's not many guys anymore that would say, yeah, I just turn it off in less than 5 feet of water. So
I don't.
I know. It you know, talk a little bit about that. Like, just talk on, you know, some of your forward facing sonar strategies when you're up shallow, and, you know, what have you learned about it from that perspective in the last couple of years?
Man,
like how are you using it to play into what you feel the best at, like what you love to do?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I can tell you, I have ran my trolling motor in the dirt a lot less. you can kind of see when you're getting too shallow, and you know when to turn your boat. That's a silly, but that's one thing I thought about the other day. Man, when I'm shallow, I'll tell you this, man. That's another thing that's beginning to. I'm starting to realize that makes a lot of guys with forward facing sonar better than others. Is that when people think that they're 5 foot or less, they don't need it, or you can't see them, or you can't catch them. But it's the guys that are catching them in 5 foot or less that are hammers. Seriously.
That brings to mind the landscape mode. Are you playing around with that?
Yeah, I got a little experience with it on the St. John's this year. On day 2, didn't do good with it. I had one bass for 3 pounds, but yeah, no, it's most definitely applicable in certain conditions or certain not conditions, scenarios. You know, bed fishing on shallow flats that you can't really see is probably the number one. You know, it's a little difficult to really see. I mean, you can tell structure very good with it. You know, you can see grass lines, real time. You can see which way certain fish are swimming. The one tournament I did probably my best with it. I don't remember if I made the cut. I think I did make the cut. It was Gunnersville. What year was that? I was fishing eelgrass in Saudi Creek. North
Was that
Saudi
the year
Creek.
that Kufal won? Caleb Kufal won that
It
event?
had to have been the year after I did good. Yes. I did good. Yeah. So it was. I want to say it was the year Kufal won. Yeah, because it was like a shad spawn into the shad spawn deal, and I could see these eelgrass clumps with fish sitting on the edge of them, and I knew exactly how to make my cast and present baits to them.
Yeah.
But you could see them behind it,
Yeah.
where forward, might not have been as easy, but that was a one scenario where it really played for me.
Perspective did?
Perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
Inch.
Pete, you want to take a quick hit our commercial block and then come back?
Yeah.
Let's dive in on the classic a little bit with Caleb and what that week's going to look like. And I'd like to spend some time on that one.
All right.
Let's if you'll stay with us, Caleb, that'd be awesome. We're going to take a quick commercial break, fill up our angler coffee, and
Good.
After this.
All right, buddy.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird. Get right to the fight. New Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar puts you on more fish with an ultra-clear, rock-solid picture of underwater action. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Mother Nature may be tough. I'm tougher. I'll take you where chaos is the cost of entry and where the fish are worth the fight. Because the bigger the question marks, the better the quest.
Wow, our new commercial block is much shorter than the old one. So we're back. Don't have Caleb yet, but
yeah, Caleb's filling up his coffee.
Yeah, it's been a fun conversation so far.
It's interesting, and I'm impressed with how he embraced. He's like, you know what? This is we're gonna have to compete this way.
Yeah.
Let me roll up my sleeves. Let me get serious about not only learning the technology but getting really, really proficient with it. And that's that's noble. That's what you got to do as a competitor, man. If you're gonna compete, man, you gotta take whatever it is and learn it. You can't be like me and leave a chatterbait in the boat for 2 years.
Yeah.
Decide to start learning it,
Yeah, no, I hear that, man, and it's gonna be a big emphasis for everybody, including myself this year. Is just keep growing, keep progressing in that. But it looks like we got Caleb back, Pete. You and I have had these conversations a lot before about like getting over that hump and getting that taste of a win. And Caleb's a Bass Nation national champion, and that means that you have to run through every guy in the country that can hold a fishing rod and thinks that he can, get to do this for a profession. He's a champion of the nation, and what would it mean to you, Caleb, to come away from Lake Ray Roberts as a Bassmaster Classic champion? Have you thought about it? Have you, what would that mean to you, man?
It'd mean a lot, man. I'll talk about something I think needs to be said, with this topic. I've heard Swindle talk about it a lot, and I've heard Ike talk about it a lot. Getting your butt kicked and getting back on the horse and staying confident in your abilities and, really moving forward with thinking that you win. I mean, there used to be something going around where Kevin Van Dam said, if you don't think you can win, why even show up? You have a couple bad years like I had back to back, and it was hurting my confidence, man. It really was. And, it kind of, the thought popped in my head one day, am I just playing to participate or am I playing to win? And, coming in off of this year, it's a super strong year, finishing 30th in points. It's like, all right, I'm here for a reason, just apply that and really make something happen. So I guess winning the Classic would mean a lot in the sense that it would just solidify my career and really just that would be the most meaningful thing about it. Like, it's like I was telling you guys earlier, I don't want to be a one-sided angler. I don't want to be a guy that was known only with a frog in his hand. I want to be a household name. I want people to look back. I want my kids to be able to say, my dad, did something amazing on the Elite Series. He didn't just fish it for 8 years. So that's what it would mean for me. It would solidify my career with one gigantic win, right? That's what it would mean to me. It would mean a lot, obviously. And it would mean a lot to a lot of other people too. And the money's one thing, the money will come and go, the trophy's one thing. Put your name on that trophy behind an 8-year career of whatever. I think this is gonna be my 8th year this year. That's what it means, right? Like,
Okay.
That's what you want. That's what I want. I want.
Say that again. You've been fishing on the Elite Series for 8 years.
8 years. This is my 8th year. Yes, sir.
Oh.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah. That's a great career. It's hard to be successful and be out there and competitive.
Yep.
And making this transition that you did with the new technology. We were talking about it on the break. Is really impressive.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the cold-hearted truth is it, and I think it needs to be said, the technology coming out has fished guys out of jobs. I mean, whether it's been said or not, I'll say it. I've seen it. We've seen it. I'm not gonna name any names, but there's people that have been stubborn about it that essentially are going to get cut. And I felt like if I didn't make that adjustment, I was going to be one of those guys. And was like, no, I'm not. That's not happening.
What year was your first year having a forward-facing transducer on your boat? 18, 19?
No.
20?
Maybe 20.
2020, is that when AT1 came out? I think
the first AT1 is what I had.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The 2020, and we're going into year 2025. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, you graduated. You went to school with it for 4 years. You know what I mean?
And dude, and I was hard headed for 2 of those years, and I had AT1 on my boat, and and for 2 years, I mean, it was like it played into me being successful a little bit, but it was like I saw these tournaments getting won. I'm like, whether or not my adjustments were right or I had confidence in doing it, it wasn't there yet.
Yeah, right. I mean, call it for what it is. I mean, it burst onto the scene when it burst onto the scene. A couple derbs got one with it, and it didn't really get talked about too much. Bill Weidler with Impulse Lithium, the St. Clair, I guess, and that was probably 17, 18. Like he was like,
oh, I'll tell you a funny story about that tournament. I don't have an electric deal right now. I got Jones trolling motor in Texarkana is going to rig my boat. I'm getting probably a 22-inch MBT this year. I'm going all out.
Okay.
I say I'm going all out. I'm running one 12-inch at the console and one screen up front. I'm keeping it bare minimum, but the technology is going to be there, right?
Right.
Showed up for practice for that tournament with a competitor, technology. I called a buddy down south. I saw one guy in practice just zip around me and catch like 2 5-pounders. I'm like, oh no, this ain't happening. And I was a little broke at the time. It was a tough year at the time. My buddy had it. I said, take it off your boat and mail it to me. I'll pay you back for the shipping. He took it off of his boat and shipped it to me. And I burnt half a day of practice installing it. And it played into the tournament. I think I almost cut a check or I think I did cut a check. But that's when it opened to my eyes about, what was out there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Money.
Well, yeah, that's amazing to watch, to see that firsthand. Guy just running circles around you.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that's what it felt like. It felt like, at one point in my career, especially beginning of last year, it almost felt like, dude, if I ain't got $55,000 worth of electronics on my boat, can I even afford to play this game anymore?
Yeah.
And I was a big supporter of the one transducer or none, whatever y'all want to do. I didn't care. I wasn't getting involved with all the drama, but there had to be some type of leveling field of what was on our boats.
Yeah.
I mean, Barry Bonds didn't have a bat that hit 700 yards. Now, granted, he took steroids, but that was illegal. He had, Tiger Woods didn't have a driver that hit, 500 yards. There's restrictions on a lot of that stuff. And if we're going to be an elite level field, there needs to be restrictions, and that's where that was wholeheartedly what I believe. And I like it. I like the one transducer. Everybody's gonna have a certain amount of screens that they can have in inches. There's an inch requirement now. I like where it's at. You got 100 guys with one transducer. However you want to set it up, however you want to do it, go fishing.
Yeah.
I like it. So I think it's going to help a lot. I still think the strong guys are still going to excel.
Yeah.
But I think for a guy like me trying to learn and get better at it, I think it kind of gives me a little gap to get a little bit better at it and play a little higher.
No. Cameron Cletus agrees with you. Bass did a good job with it. We got Steve, and I think a lot of people are still like him. That, man, this should be in the amateurs' hands, not in the pros' hands. To compete with. What's the feel that you're getting out there amongst your peers? Are have people swayed at all, or is there?
You talking about away from it altogether?
Away from it, like blocking it from the top level, like the MPFL's doing.
I feel like Bass was probably the most torn with it. That's why their decision was so tough. I mean, Bass had a super hard decision to make, and there's a whole kind of things that come into factor with that, right? I mean, just, are we going to catch the same amount of bass? I get the top 10 guys will, but, will we break records without it? I doubt we will. Or without it, should I say? I doubt we will. I mean, you look at Lake Fork this year, we had the highest cut weight ever. I think after day one, it was almost 22 pounds. That's insane. That's, stuff like that, I think comes into play. Completely my opinion. I'm not speculating anything that I know. I'm just saying that's my opinion. But I think the field was, 60-40 both ways, right? I'm a firm believer too that I'm one that if it goes away, right as of right now, if it goes away, I'm going to be ecstatic. I'll be happy. If it stays, I'm gonna do my best to keep learning and try to win with it. I'm an instinctual fisherman, and I'd like to see it get back to that at some point. I think a good idea that popped up this year that didn't get pushed through, maybe we'll see it in the future, is a 50-50 tournament or a 50-50 season.
Yeah.
50% with it, 50% without it. I'd like to see something like that get into play, that at least a step in the right direction. I think this year is going to show between the three leagues some interesting statistics as far as for, what's happening. You got MPFL without it completely. You got MLF doing partial events with it or partial periods with it. And you got Elite Series that still allows it. So I think it's going to be a very interesting season for viewership and in each league individually. I mean, dude, I'd like to see us get back to one day just doing a seminar just on flipping and people showing up because like Denny Brower, like who wouldn't show up and listen to Denny Brower flipping a jig, there was a story going around. I'm not going to name the name again, but a guy gave a seminar one time and he was talking about cold water cranking. And, one guy stood up and said, man, what? I don't need that flat-sided crankbait. I can just throw around my minnow of dots. It's just like I want to get back to teaching bass fishing, man. I want to, that's my whole factor with it. Like, I don't want to be the king of scope. I want to be the king of, like I said, a flipping stick or something. But I want to be able to do it. I don't want it to rob me. But so I got interesting takes on it, man. I'm all over the place. I'm not gonna let it rob me. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm not in the battle. I'm not in the battle. I'm not in the battle about it. I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to keep my job.
For sure. I mean, you're not fighting it, and that's a good place to be as far as the technology goes. Is just having the comfortability using it in so many different scenarios.
That's right.
Like I said, I've teased on this show for a long time now about a lot of the shallow water applications, and it's not always about just seeing a dot.
It's not. It's not. We talked about that in the show. I mean, you got to decipher what it is, where it's sitting, how to catch it. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that love this sport, like you're just talking about, and they're never going to buy one of these units.
That's all. And I think there needs to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get people that want to learn.
People love to go fishing. They love to fish the way they want to fish. They fish from the bank. You know what I mean? And there's people are going to consume the sport the way that they want to enjoy it. And
that's right.
And we should embrace that. And I think we are. You can, if you're a high level tournament guy, you got to dive into this technical side of things. But man, if you just love to go fishing, man, pick up that jig, pick up that frog, wait for the spring warming trends to come, and let's go have some fun.
That's right. That's right, man. That's what this saltwater thing has really done for me too, man. It's really revitalized my love of fishing. You get asked every year as a pro, do you still enjoy it? Do you still have fun? My alarm never has to go off twice for a tournament. I love the competition. I get fired up. I get ate up with it. But this saltwater thing has really revitalized my love of just watching a cork go under. We throw a popping cork a lot. That cork goes under. You crack them. It's cool. Fun. And it keeps me, fishy, and I love it. So I'm excited for this year, man. I really am.
That's very cool, and we're excited to watch it. But you're also a hunter. You took my boy up there. You guys went and on a little hunting excursion after our last Bass University.
Yeah, man. We broke Riz into some good old backwoods shenanigans.
Texas-ish. It was the dose of Texas that I didn't know I needed, and I liked it. I liked it.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well, what did you guys?
Well, I mean, first of all, since I was on the road, I didn't get a cut of any of the rabbits, so I'm still a little, perturbed about that.
Oh, I didn't give anybody the option to take any rabbits. Them rabbits came home with me.
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about brown gravy since the time I left 25, right?
Now wait a minute. I thought you guys were going duck hunting.
We were whatever was moving hunting.
You what?
Instead, we were with whatever was moving hunting.
Yeah, we if it had a heartbeat and it was in season, we were,
That's right.
We were getting after it. But it's that was definitely a good time. What Clay? The guy who owns that property, Clay Powell. What's his business again?
Texas Flood. They do water transfer in the Texas area. I think they go up into different states too.
Yeah,
but basically water transportation. They'll move water for miles if they got to.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah, we were talking about that before the show. I couldn't remember what his deal was, but nah, man, what a time. I mean, how many acres is his place on?
I think it's like 830. Just bought it this year. Got it all set up.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I mean, in that part of Texas is still very Texas.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, it's It really is a great place. But yeah, I mean, the staying in tune with the animals. You touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the show. We won't keep you too much longer. It's been about an hour, but talk about that. Just give me, a little bit of a context on, like, and I've had this conversation with some other people now that I've noticed that the deer behavior in the same region is very similar to the way bass behave as far as movement and
Dude, I agree. I mean,
happen. Like,
talk about deer follow contours the same as fish do. I'm not saying it's identical, but you look at a topograph map, it's basically a contour map of a lake just reversed above sea level or above water level. And you look at how deer and deer work draws and ridge lines. Chances are you'll have like a little tip of a hill, a point that have two draws that connect, and those deer like to follow the low spots where there's to eat on acorns that are in a certain area. They follow, thermal, which way the scent drops off the hills early in the morning and sun starts heating everything up, which could relate in the current. Man, I don't know exactly what it is, but it seems the years that I have hunted a lot, I've had a good season too. And it's not so much just going to sit in a deer stand and wait. It's always I like being on the ground and making a decision, just like in the boat. Just I need to go put my tree stand in this tree, or I need to set up on these ducks this way because the wind's blowing this way. They'll be coming this way. I think it's just that. I think the biggest factor is just that game planning, mindset, and decision.
Yeah.
And just being outdoors, noticing the change in something. Obviously, you only on the water for a tournament 8 hours a day, so noticing it 30 minutes or an hour sooner than the next guy could be a key factor into getting 2 to 3 more big bites. Who knows?
Right.
So I don't know the exact reason behind it, but I think it helps a lot.
It's there, it's
there's something there for sure.
Yeah. It's, like there's so much that goes into it as far as triggering factors and, like you said, the movement patterns and everything, you see a lot of the parallels, and I go off the deep end on this stuff as far as the moon goes and, the moon phase and that stuff and what it does to triggers. But I've seen a lot of the same parallels, now living in this, region of the Bay for 3 years now. It's like you start to see some of these things that, really line up in ecosystems, and whether it's above water or underwater, I think, it lines up the same. But
that's right.
Well, it's valuable lessons. And unfortunately, I never have been a hunter, but we've interviewed so many people that do, and how important they feel it is, and observing the wildlife. So it's all great training. Like the work you're doing in the saltwater, it just keeps you sharp, and it's great to see. Great to see you have an amazing year. I'm excited to watch it, the Classic this year. Yeah. Did you get any pre-fish time down there, or you
never got any pre-fish in? I'll tell you a funny story. My entire career, now I'm just opposed to pre-fishing. I haven't done it. I don't think I've done it for any one event. It adds a big expense to me, and I got kids obviously, but I'll tell you one thing: when I do my research on the back end to try to make up for it. I do major map studies, and don't take it as a sign of weakness that I don't pre-fish, but I try to minimize as much. I wish I could get at least one day of running around just to kind of see the place, maybe, but no, I didn't get to do it. And what I understand, that one's one I probably should have with all the timber, but I think I'll be all right there. I got a lot of experience with Toledo around that time of year, Rayburn as well. I'm not saying it'll fish like either of those lakes at all. I understand it's a totally different system, but as far as for the time of year and what they should be doing and where they should be sitting, I think it'll help a lot.
For sure.
Excellent. Man, good luck, man. It's going to be awesome to watch, and
I appreciate you, man.
Best of luck on this upcoming season, and we'll be seeing you down at the Classic. We'll be seeing you in a couple months. So I look forward to that.
I'll see you.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we're just doing on the water interviews and on the boat interviews.
That's it. I'll see you at media day, not on the floor of not at the expo, Bubba.
That's right.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, Caleb. Have a great rest of your winter. Hopefully the snow doesn't fall too hard on South Louisiana again.
I think we're good for a few years after this one.
A few hundred years, maybe.
Probably once in a lifetime snow. It was for sure.
All right. Have a great one, Caleb. Thanks.
Y'all too, buddy. Thank y'all.
All right, man. That was great, man. I love Caleb. It's great being around him, and glad to have him part of Bass U. And talking to him down at the Classic this year. It's great stuff, man. I'm really impressed with how he upped his game this year.
Yeah. There was a lot to unpack there, and a lot of different ways to take something away from it. And we talked about forward facing sonar a lot, in that interview, probably more than honestly I wanted to talk more about Albemarle Sound and Sabine River and places, stuff like that. But the that process for of how Caleb became proficient with it, now has put it in his pocket as far as one of his tools in the arsenal, and the way he can use it and exploit it to catch bass. I mean, it's you could say it's better to learn it from one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But let's call it for what it is. Most people would say live scoping is more forward-facing sonar fishing is much easier to do over 40 foot of water, throwing at a suspended smallmouth in 20. It is. It's easy to see them, and to have that skill set of being able to now do that, and he can apply it when he's up shallow and he's in his realm and he's making those those intuitive and just those those decisions about his fishing, and putting that technology to couple up with it. I think we're going to see some fireworks for this coming year.
For sure. And guys, want to invite you to check out all the work at Bass University about how to advance your forward-facing sonar skills, if that's something you're interested in. And if not, man, we've got the greatest shallow water and crankbait anglers on the planet that you can learn anything you want to learn about that particular skill set. So check it all out. Get yourself signed up. We've got a great promo right now. The Bassman spinnerbait kit that comes along with your subscription to Bass University right now. Yeah. And we're going to give away some stuff. We always like to give away some stuff to one of our subscribers. Are you there, Justin? Is Jocelyn there with us?
Nope.
The screen, PG. Look at the screen.
Well, I'm delayed. I guess. Good to see you, Jocelyn. Good morning.
Hello.
Or is it afternoon already? We had a long interview.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we're Jocelyn. We're excited. We're talking about the Classic. Bass University is going to be back at the Classic this year. How are things looking for us?
We are. I mean, all of our travel's booked, and we're ready to go.
Yep, it should be a good event. Texas, we love Texas. It's
everything's bigger in Texas,
and especially our subscribers. We have more people that watch use Bass University in Texas than anywhere else in the country.
Well, check this out, Pete.
This out is right.
Oh.
Yeah, Shell Lunker 671. Shout out to Dylan.
Lunker Bunker has been activated.
Yep. I'm sure Tom Lang was ready to rock and roll when that one got called in. Shout out to the people at the Share Lunker program. Shout out to Dylan. He's our, member, viewer, sub of the week. I'm just giving him a shout out because he called a giant bass.
Sub of the week, Dylan. Congratulations. Where was that fish caught? Do you know that?
Yeah, I can pull that up. I love when you do this to me, Pete. Every time.
You do know we had a show today, right?
Richland Chambers. Yeah,
What?
You would think I didn't know we had a show, considering I played the wrong commercial, but that's all right.
Well, that was a new commercial, no?
Yeah, it's a new commercial, but I uploaded the wrong thing.
That's all right.
But we got the new one ready to go on the rollout, so
awesome.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Awesome. No, that was perfect. We only needed like 2 minutes there anyway to just take turns. I just had to put more. I just had to get more coffee, and it was long enough to do that. So, the Angler's Coffee, breakaway was successful.
Excellent. That was our sub of the week. Who are we giving away a prize to?
We're gonna give a prize to the sub of the week.
Awesome.
Sub of the week.
Send in an image. So everyone, send in your images and your fish catches, and you could win a prize.
All right. What's our prize today?
Surprise.
A surprise prize?
No, there's gonna be a Minn Kota hat with a couple baits.
Okay.
Bassman spinner
Awesome.
bait.
Yeah, we always have a stash of cool stuff from our partners and sponsors. So we package you up something nice. So yeah, send in your image. We love to feature you on as sub of the week on the show. It's good to have Stefan with us, hanging out with us today.
Hi, Stefan.
Shout out, Steph.
What's up, Stefan? We look forward to seeing you at the class, Kevin Cahill. Yes,
Stefan's looking cute in that little freaking YouTube picture, boy. Look at him, little selfie. Stefan. That's what I'm talking about, Steph. Looking handsome, my man.
What are you talking about? What did I miss?
Don't worry about it.
His picture.
I don't like. I know you get
profile.
scarred. You get scarred when Stefan's name comes up, so we'll just leave it at that, Pete.
Yeah. All right, Kyle Pat. Yeah, I am permanently scarred. The Kyle Patrick. Good to have you hanging out with us. Good luck this season, Kyle. We'll be working with you and looking forward to that.
Yeah, sure. We're definitely going to be filming again with Kyle this year. And shout out to take a second here, Kyle. If you're still watching, great job at the seminars this year. You did a bang up job. We got some guys on the Bash U board too here. Frank Walder, Coach Howie Range, Nick Mayberry, Tim Land, Mark in Dallas. They're all tuning in with us on the website, and we got Hey Gang, who commented Hey Gang. I don't know. Yeah, we got a few people on the message board. Coach Prince, we got to hang out with Coach Prince and Neil Paul and Anderson this year on Saturday evening for a little while after dinner. It was great catching up with those guys. Stefan says his back hurts. Come on.
Dude, I'm sad to report it's going to continue hurting if I have anything to do with it.
Bass Tech Sonar was also on with us on the board. Jared Fantini, shout out to him. David Stottlemyre.
You guys gave away all the secrets.
Yeah. I revealed some stuff there. David Stottlemyre. Good to see those names on the board.
Yep. Sure enough. Well, guys, we have a guest lined up for next week.
We do.
Rich, who's going to be with us next week?
We're going to be talking with Dakota Ebear next week. And we're going to stay on the track of what's going on in the current, bass fishing climate. It's swing season right down south. You can have days in the 80s. You can also still deal with days, in the 30s and have to be facing those cold fronts. And a lot of that has happened recently. Dakota just came off of a strong tournament down there on Toledo or Sam Rayburn in the Toyota Series event. So we'll be able to recap some of that with him as well. But, he's another Bass U instructor that you can see coming down the pipeline. We're going to be releasing a final copy swim bait seminar with Dakota in the very near future as well. So
excellent.
Cool deal.
Well, we're going to pack it in. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Justin, Rich, Caleb Sumrall. Thank you very much. It was really cool hanging out with you. And guys, we'll catch you next week. Another Bass University Live. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody. Hey, by the way, go Eagles. How about that win? We didn't even get to celebrate a little bit.
Yep.
Jocelyn.
One more thing. Jocelyn, tell them, how do they get tickets for Friday night?
Oh, the Ike Foundation Scholarship Dinner. Go to the ikefoundation.org and purchase your ticket. All the money raised goes to the Ike Foundation, and we give out some scholarships to continue education.
If you're within 4 hours of, where is it at? Good job. Same golf course.
Same Centerton at the Grove.
At the Grove at Centerton Inn. If you're within 4 hours of that location, you should get a ticket and come.
There's a lot of fishing baskets.
A lot of fishing
And
baskets.
Pete, I got one more thing for you. I saw you send over an AquaView picture ice fishing. Were you ice fishing over the weekend?
The Eco Bass Angler was up Cayuga Lake using his AquaView.
Nice.
Him and his son and their friends were running around on snowmobiles out on like 8 or 10 inches of ice.
That sounds fun.
If you aren't already subscribed to our newsletter, I would, because we're going to be sending out some AquaView discount codes coming up. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
just a little.
I can't wait to get my AquaView out again. I cannot wait to put that thing to work at Champlain and at St. Lawrence. I loved that micro 5-inch unit that I used last year up at the St. Lawrence. It was awesome. I mean, it was exactly as advertised. You know, you drop it down and the smallmouth literally follow it.
They
You
do.
don't have to have a bait. They'll tell you if they're there. So
Stop, drop, and scan.
yeah,
It's-
stop, drop, and scan.
Just like dropping a minnow. They come up off the bottom to see that camera.
I'd
Yep.
probably be more effective fishing with the camera than shaking a minnow. That's I'd have a better chance if I just put a treble hook on the AquaView camera than if I have to shake a minnow. So maybe we'll try that next year.
They will hit it sometimes.
Yeah.
They will hit it. All right, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you next week with Dakota E-Bear on Bass University Live. See you guys.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird. Get right to the fight. New Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar puts you on more fish with an ultra-clear, rock-solid picture of underwater action. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Right here, AquaView, mandatory equipment in my boat. I say it all the time. The smallmouths hide in the cracks in the rocks, and just saw a little bit of the same kind of rock with the cracks in it. And I realized that I had to put a bait down there. You wouldn't, idle over them and see them on your screen. You had to put a bait down there and suck them out of the rock. So, AquaView, big assist on this one.
And outdoors Bassmaster Classic champion,
Coffee. The angler's ritual. A reason to leave your cozy covers, even if you aren't headed to the river. We started Angler's Coffee because, well, we love to fish, we love coffee, and we care. Think of it as the rise before the rise.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina. From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
Mother Nature may be tough. I'm tougher. I'll take you where chaos is the cost of entry and where the fish are worth the fight. Because the bigger the question marks, the better the quest.